Namaskar, everybody who joins in now or later. I welcome Ben to our live feed. He is a life coach as well as an acupressure specialist from the US. And when I asked him, he was kind enough to come live with us, specifically for this time, the time which the entire world is facing, on certain things which he can recommend to us from his expertise field of acupressure, which we can do at home, and it will help us in releasing such elements as fear, anxiety, as well as stress at this time. So Ben, would you like to say something about yourself and your work, and how did you get onto this journey?
Yeah, so I've been in private practice as an acupuncturist and life coach for about 9 years now.
Okay.
And I have my own practice in Seattle, in the States. And yeah, I specialize in helping people with both physical and emotional ailments. So physical body pain is a big one, but also emotional things like people who struggle with anxiety, stress, depression, insomnia, things like that.
Right. So I'm sure that you are helping a lot of souls these days, specifically because this help us understand that how does acupressure work, and how can we use it? Is it okay if we use it at home? Is it safe to use it? Something about the base of it, something about the history of it, and how is it useful for us?
Yeah. So acupuncture and also acupressure have been around for 3,000, 5,000 years. So very ancient medicine.
Right.
We have a mapped out system of energy channels that run through the body. And so when you go through training, you learn where all the points are and how each energy channel functions in the body, what's its responsibility. And so when clients come in when they have different ailments and issues that they want help with, my job as like a trained professional is to know which meridians or which energy channels are out of whack based off the ailments that are presenting from their body. Such a really fascinating medicine. In my mind, it's more like an art form. There's no like set thing, although they're trying to put more structure around it to say, oh, only these 10 points work for low back pain or whatever. But really, if you look at it traditionally, it's very fluid and ever-changing, so we're always supposed to be checking in with the client each time to see how their body has adjusted and changed, and then we adapt the points each time. So I like the movement and the fluidity of that. It's really safe. There's very little side effects there's no side effects, I think, for acupressure. Acupuncture with using needles, if you have a bad practitioner that can put it in too far, something like that. But if you have someone who's well trained, I think there's very little risk of really anything negative. It's a great medicine in that sense too,
Right, absolutely. So basically you're saying, and which is what it's good that you're matching up with emotional healing, that it is to do with the energy field of our body, and usually problems and specifically health issues, emotional issues, they happen when the energy goes back, as you said, that there is something which is not the way it is supposed to be in our energy flow. And through acupuncture, through acupressure, we can help that get back into the flow. So currently, Ben, as we have people who are watching us from probably all over the world, can we do something at our home also, in which case maybe we do not require an expert's guidance because it might not always be available, and specifically in the quarantine time, because in different parts of the world, everything is not as open as maybe in the other part of the world. So something which specifically, is it safe to do it at home ourselves, a few of those things?
Absolutely. Yeah, we can go over some points today that once you know the location of them, you can do them at home. We can do points for stuff like stress and anxiety, or we could also add a few for immune boosting as well. People are interested in that.
Excellent. So thank you so much, Ben, because that's what a lot of times people are worried about, if they can do it themselves. So thanks for clarifying it for us. And sure, then you're the expert. I leave the live to you. Please help us in understanding that what are these energy points, the ones that you want to cover today, and what are those pressure points and how do we pressurize it such that we release these emotions that we were speaking about: fear, anxiety, insecurity, stress, and as you mentioned, immunity, which is also very important at this time. So
Yeah.
yes, all yours now.
Great. Cool. Let's go over a few points. I'll tilt my camera down so you can see the points here. The first one I'm going to do actually is for the liver. It's called liver 3. So each point in the energy channels have an organ system name and then a number associated with it. So the liver channel has 14 points on it traditionally. This is the third point in the liver channel. You can Google these points. You can Google pictures of them, but we'll show you where they are today. The liver is the organ that handles stress in the body, so both physical stress and emotional stress. And liver 3 is the point that moves a lot of that stuck energy when people come in with things like anxiety or depression or that emotional kind of congestion. That's all liver, essentially, and that's why we choose this point. So I want to tilt my camera down here to my cool socks here. Let's see. So here's my foot, the liver point. You have your big toe here, and then you have your second toe here, and they have kind of a V like that. And the liver point is directly in the middle of those bones, right? And so the way I do this is, if you look at my camera here, I go kind of underneath and on top, and I find that in between the two bone spot, and you just look for, kind of press for a spot that feels really achy, and so you can kind of go up or down a little bit and see a spot that's achy. So this is achy for me here. So my bone, again, this is the second bone here, this is the first bone here, and I'm pressing on both the bottom and the top part of it. This is liver 3.
I'm doing it as you say, and I think even I have found that part, which is it aches, it pinches.
Yeah. And so for us, traditionally, that achy feeling is a positive symptom. It means that we're finding the right point.
Oh, interesting. I thought that there's a problem in the liver. That's what it indicates.
Yeah, I mean, it means that, there's energy that's stuck, but to find points, that achiness kind of gives away where that point is, so we can find it. So this is the liver point. It's on both feet, so you can do this on this foot and the other one, and you just press and hold up to, I think, 2 to 3 minutes for each foot, and then you can move on to another point as well.
Okay, so this will help us in releasing anxiety and stress.
Exactly.
Okay.
It will, go ahead.
Yeah, so specifically at this time, if there are people, and does this also deal with chronic anxiety, or you're talking about these normal anxieties which one feel in various situations at home? Let's say, often what happens in relationships also, that person did not call me back, had seen the message, has not replied back. So those minute anxieties, but still they really eat you up. So while we face that, immediately we can look for this point and press it for about 2-3 minutes on both the feet.
Yeah, I think this point is powerful. I think, the points themselves are more powerful in combination with each other. So I think you doing this point and doing a few other ones, that will help with acute and chronic anxiety. This point just by itself is nice, and it will help, but it's not the same impact unless you add maybe another point or two kind of together with it. Yeah.
Because obviously certain points should be pressurized within with an expert's help, or that the expert should do it, but this is something which is safe to do at home.
Yeah, honestly, I think acupressure is 100% safe to do at home. It's the needles that is more of the issue with needing a professional, but doing it at your home with just the pressure points, no problem.
Okay, great. So this one was for fear and stress. Thank you so much. What is the next one that we can go to?
Yeah, so there's a partner to this point, and it's on the hand. These together, so the 2 feet and the 2 hands, are called the 4 gates. And the 4 gates are a traditional series of points that we use for stress and anxiety, and also for pain management. But they're great for the stress and anxiety piece for sure. I do them all the time on most of my clients, and so I'm going to tilt this down so you can see my hand. So they're actually in a similar position here. Again, if you look at the foot that we just did, this would be the big toe, this would be the second toe, and it's the same thing on the hand. This one is in the middle of the 2 as well. The way you actually traditionally measure it is you take the top of this knuckle here for your second finger,
Right.
and
Yeah.
the bone goes all the way down to your wrist like this. So the bone
Right.
is about this long. Directly in the center piece of that bone, if you move
Right.
from that center piece off into the flesh of that
Uh.
middle area, that is where the point is. And again, you're just looking for an achy spot as you press on both sides. Like this to me feels very achy all of a sudden. This is also a great point for headaches and migraines. I do this all the time for people with that.
Okay.
Yeah. And so this point is called large intestine 4. Again, we always have an organ system and then a number associated with all of our points. So large intestine 4 and liver 3 are the points that come together to make the 4 gates. And these are very powerful for rebalancing the system, but definitely for stress management, anxiety, pain management.
Okay. So basically, we are also pressurizing both the intestine nerves here and the liver nerves here.
Yes. I mean, well,
Okay.
so to clarify, I mean, we don't, there's a lot of talk on what the energy channels, what they exactly are in the body, but they're not really the nerve routes. If anything, they probably have more to do with the fascia routes, the fascia being the connective tissue that kind of lines the muscles. So it's not quite the nerves, but yeah, there's definitely some kind of energy exchange happening for these channels. Yeah.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you. So will this also, if somebody is facing digestion issues, considering liver and intestines both are part of our digestive system, the diaphragm, below the diaphragm system, so we can use this for that too?
Yeah, this would be probably someone who has digestive issues when they're very stressed out. Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay. Right.
that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Like when they have constipation or maybe lose motions, either of them when they're too stressed out.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Or if you
Great.
lose your appetite when you're stressed, that would be another example of how you could use a point like this.
Okay, okay. Somebody over here, Ben asked that is there a pressure point that can be used for diabetes? So is that something which we can tell somebody at the moment, or that will require an expert's help?
I have to think about that. So it's like trying to lower blood sugar. Is that what they're asking?
Correct. That's what diabetes is, when the blood sugar is high.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think there is a diabetes point on the ears, if I'm correct. I don't use that very often, so I'm not. I'd have to go look at that and see. I think if helping manage your diabetes in terms of like regulating your nervous system and making sure you're grounded and calm, there's lots of points for that in acupuncture. But specifically for lowering blood sugar, I'd have to kind of investigate and see if there's a point for that.
Sure, of course. Yeah. So how about staying grounded and staying calm? Is it related to these points, or there are different points of that?
Yeah, so these points are great. We'll do a third one here. This is an extra point, so it's not on one of the main meridians, but it's a common point that we always use. It's just a third eye point, so it is this one here. And you can press on it, or massage it. People circle with it too,
Right.
But this is a point that we call yin tong. Obviously, in other alternative medicine traditions, the third eye is a common point in general, but we actually do put needles in this spot in treatment, and so it's a great point. The other one I'll point out as well is the ears. I use the ears a lot. There's little tiny needles that we can put in the ears, but definitely the top parts of the ears, specifically kind of up here. There's a traditional point that if you just press on it, it's a parasympathetic regulator, which means that rest and digest mode, it turns that on and gets you out of that survival state. So those two I really love as combinations.
Okay, so it's interesting because just in the morning I was speaking about how our brain is trained for survival mode, fight or flight mode. So whenever that kind of a thing sets in, we can press the top of our, like the inner top of our ears. And
Yeah.
it's interesting, when here in India there is a punishment which was very popular as we were kids, which and then later I learned that it had to do with acupressure also, to increase memory. And I'm sure you would have a take on it. That they used to ask us to cross our hands and put our
Mm.
hands on our earlobes, and
Yep.
sit up and down. So pressing of the earlobes was also, I later learned, was a part of acupressure. That's the why in India there is, and in a lot of other places also, there's a tradition of piercing your ears.
Right, right. Yeah. This is they have a traditional acupuncture point, which is specific for the brain, right at the lobe, right? So that's interesting that they do that.
Right.
The ears are amazing. The ears have so many amazing points to play with. There, I could go on for hours about, what areas of the ears are important. Actually, another one that's really cool, I'd say, is like this part of your ear here, that traditionally there's an anti-anxiety point called tranquilizer right on this piece.
Okay.
So people actually pierce this as well, at least in America.
Right.
You can press
Right.
on it as well or push into it like this, but this is a specific point called tranquilizer that's supposed to calm you down.
Okay.
So yeah, I press on it typically with my finger,
Right. So is there a time for which we should do it, like 2 to 3 minutes or something like that? Or we
Yeah,
can just...
2 to 3 minutes I think is ideal. And so I try to get people, if whether you're at your office desk or whether you're just watching TV, just like that's the perfect
Right.
time to do it. I think,
So I'm sure if somebody is having problems of sleeping in night, when they, when all these thoughts, they come back, because that's the time when you're basically not doing anything and you're trying to shut off your brain. So this will help in that also. This one and the one that you talked about over the year. Great, excellent. So we have covered about 3 to 4 points, which we can easily do. Anything else that you would like to add, Ben?
Sure. I mean, it depends. I can add more points. We can do a few more if you think that would be helpful.
Great. So, anything to do with see, people are feeling very insecure about the future at this time. Obviously, a lot is not in our hand. We cannot control the future at all. But then that does give rise to overthinking, right? Is there anything which we can use, any pressure point that we can use at that time?
To calm the mind down.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. I actually have a video on my Instagram, which is a facial massage that you can do to yourself at home. That works wonders. I think the face is very powerful for calming the thinking down. And so I do a lot of work with people in terms of like massaging, like underneath like your eyes here and like underneath your eyes there, right? These are not traditional points per se. I mean, there are points around this area, but like just from like a more practical standpoint, this kind of thing, doing this, for 2 to 3 minutes, you'll feel dramatically calmer at night, especially. And so I don't know why the eyes and like kind of around the eyes hold so much tension, but when you do kind of release this area, you just want to like go to sleep, essentially,
Right. No, I can totally relate with it, because there are times when I have actually used the third point, not knowing that it's an acupressure point. And when you do this, just this, and just press a little over here, that releases so much tension. It's like a sigh that comes out. And then I later learned it has, there are certain, tapping points which are used in a technique called EFT also. So there is a point here which is, below the armpit and somewhere over here. There is stress over here. So when you tap on it, that releases stress, and then also in the collarbones, this area also releases stress if you tap on it. Then below the nose here.
Right.
And then below the eyes over here. So these are certain areas if you tap on, and this way you can even program yourself. Like you can talk to yourself, what is it that you want to program yourself with? Tap on these areas, and apparently you would know that there are these energy fields in these areas. And you can program these energy fields to now work for you. So great.
Yeah, EFT is great. I know a lot of people who do that.
Correct.
It's it's amazing whoever thought of that.
Absolutely, and it makes you feel so self-empowered, right? Because it is. I think it was very empowering for me to know that all the emotions that I was going through, there is a way in which I can work on it myself. Instead of becoming a slave to it, there is a technique which I can use, such as you suggested, all these acupressure points or EFT, which I can use on myself and get out of it. I don't have to rely on someone at all the time.
Right,
So,
right.
so Ben, any other point that you want to cover, or this is good to go?
Yeah, let's do two more just to have it. In my
Yes, sure.
practice specifically, I kind of mix and match like practical things with traditional things, right? So like the eye massage is more of like a practical thing. This point in the front here, which we'll do next. So this is actually the traditional point. This is on the sternum. So the sternum being the bone in between, on the center of your ribs here. The
Okay.
point is a heart point. It's kind of on the heart chakra. This to me is a practical point that works really well. It's wherever your nipples are, essentially. It's like directly on the bone, like in alignment to that level. And as you
Right.
press on the bone there, again, it's just one of those areas that I think is very soothing to just have pressure there. But B, traditionally as an acupuncture point, this is called REN 17, Run 17. It's a heart point. The heart in Chinese medicine is an emotional organ. It's, all the weight of the emotions that we carry. This point helps to transform that stuck energy and to kind of move it through the body. So this is a point that I really love to put needles on for people, but also just to like massage for people, because I think it does soothe the mind,
Yes.
soothe the body, right?
That's true. As you were speaking, I was doing it, and I could feel like a release, like once again that sigh which came out. That yes, this is where the thymus gland is also. So all of you guys, as in how he is suggesting, just try it and give your feedback over here, because this really soothed me. Like yeah, it's a good technique. Specifically, once again, you can do it in the night if you're facing depression or any such thing, and you don't have anybody to speak to immediately, but you need to release that stress as suggested by Ben, this area where in the middle of the chest, and just massage it lightly. Excellent. Thank you,
Yeah,
Ben.
yeah, yeah. The last one we'll
I think
do.
this will help in opening up the heart chakra also, because specifically for those people who have a lot of unexpressed emotions, because you are a life coach as well. So
Mhm.
is that something which you suggest, that for people who have unexpressed emotions, they're going through a breakup at this time, they can use this?
Absolutely. And in my sessions with clients, a lot of people do have emotional releases on the table once the needles are in.
Hmm.
So definitely things move if they're stuck, if they're unreleased. Yeah.
Great. I think this is an excellent point. I could instantly
Yeah.
feel the relief. And this
Yeah.
as well here. And basically everything. So excellent. I'm really
Yeah.
happy that
Great.
you agreed to do this, because it just makes you feel so self-empowered. Ben.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely. We'll do one more here. This is also a heart point. So I'm going to show you my wrist here. So this is on the pericardium channel. The pericardium in Western medicine is the lining around your heart, right? But the pericardium in Chinese medicine is all about, that emotional space and really soothing that emotional space. The pericardium channel runs kind of on the inner side of your arm, kind of on the pinky side. This is where my
Mm-hmm.
pinky is, right? And so Pericardium 7 is right where your hand kind of meets your wrist. There's a divot
Okay.
by the tendon there. It tends to be kind of sore as well. You can kind of see my arm here. And again, you can
Mm-hmm.
Google the images of these points. This one's called Pericardium 7. This
Right.
one's a traditional point that is just so great for resetting the system. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the wrong. Sorry, this is Heart 7. My bad. This is the heart specifically. So it's Heart 7 that you can Google, and it's a point that I love doing on people. Again, that similar to the one we just did before that. It's just a resetter of your emotional space. It soothes the mind. The heart energy is all about the emotional space that we're
Right.
in and
True.
dealing with, right? So again, all these points are on both sides, right? So you can do them on either side. In a session, I put needles on both sides of the body at the same time. So,
Right.
yeah. So this is Heart 7.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. These are very sore on me. I can really feel them when you, and again, I think the soreness is a good indicator of if you found points that are there that you're looking for.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think this will also work for, because these days a lot of people are working from home, and where in offices they still have the laptop set at a particular position. At home, places are not like that. So this will work something for that also, if you're facing problems in terms of how do I say, the
like
wrist
carpal
pain,
tunnel. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, if you
stiffness in
want,
the joints.
right. I mean, if you do want one specifically for like carpal tunnel, which is like all the wrist issues, right? There's one on top. This is called Sanjiao 5, also known as triple burner 5. And the way you measure it actually is if you take your knuckles, so the knuckles would be from like here to here. This is how you can find it. You put that length from like where your hand meets your wrist, and right where it lands on the pinky side down here, that's where the point is in between the two bones, right? You can hold it on both sides like that. Again, you're looking for a sore spot, so you can go up a little bit or down a little bit to see. Like this is more sore for me. This is what I traditionally use for people who have carpal tunnel or some wrist issues due to like, computer work, stuff like that.
Okay.
So
wow. Okay.
yeah.
I found my point.
So less about anxiety, more practical stuff, you know.
Yeah, it is. But does that mean, Ben, if there is somebody who does not have a problem related to that particular pressure point, that it will not ache?
It depends, you know. I mean, I think this kind of point is we use our hands this day and age so much, even if you're just like texting on your phone or doing social media, that like you probably are going to be very tight through here. But yeah, I guess in theory, if you stretch a lot, if your muscles are not locked up, these points won't be as sore. But again, who has the time probably to like stretch all the time and like not be stuck, right?
Exactly. Because as soon as you said that, I was pressing my entire hand and I found out that there are a couple of them which are sore.
Yeah. Let's just do one more practical point while we're here. So this is a great point for headaches. And actually specifically for migraines. So if there are people out there who have migraines, so between the fifth and fourth finger, right? And these are the muscles, these are the knuckles of the two. If you go between the knuckles and drop down a little bit, there's a little divot in between there, if you can see my hand. This one is so powerful for getting rid of migraines and headaches, specifically if they're stress related. I do this all the time on clients. This, like, to me right now, this is very sore. So it's where your knuckles are in between, and then you just drop down a little bit. This is called triple burner 3. You can do it on both sides, but again, people who are staring at their computers too much are getting headaches. This would be a great point to do as well. So these are more practical points, but I thought might as well share a few while we're here.
Yes. Great. Yeah, this actually, I think I also released some stress from it today, and yes, it is. Wow, Ben, these are very, very easy things to do, and something I think. But can this be done daily? Should one practice these points and pressurizing them daily? Is that okay?
Absolutely. And if you want to have it even more activated, you could take something like a pen or like something that's a little dull, and you can actually put it in there instead of your fingers to make it even more achy, right? So the achier that it feels, the more energy that you'll probably be moving. And so
this can be really painful.
Yeah, so
why you require an expert, because you need to press it, so the expert will hold it irrespective of whether you're shouting at the rooftop.
That's right. I mean, for anyone who hasn't done acupuncture before, acupuncture is such a powerful medicine because you have the needles that are very tiny that go into these spots and stay there for about 15 minutes. So you actually get way more time with these points that are activated. So you see results very fast versus what you can do on your own. You can only hold this for 2-3 minutes before you get tired.
I agree with you because there was once I had consulted a Sujok expert over here. So what they used was acupuncture, and also they took a few grains like for different parts of your body. They were using
Mm,
kidney beans somewhere, then pulses for other places, and the idea was that the shape of it was pressing that particular point, and the shape of
mm,
that particular grain was best to press that particular point. And
mm.
what happened after that was Ben, because I went to her, I think for about a couple of weeks, and that maybe you can tell me if that is how it really happened. That basically made me unwell for a while. But then
Mm,
I also realized that it made me unwell for a while because probably the energy was realigning, and
mm.
the things which I did not need was getting released from my energy point. So is that something which you have experienced with your people who you work on as well?
Sure. I mean, it happens at times. Everyone has their own process of
Right,
healing, right? So I have had clients who had very intense detox after the treatments and have
right.
felt like they were pretty sick for 1 or 2 days, but then after that, they felt like dramatically better and healed and different. So they found that to be worth it. It doesn't always happen for clients, but definitely, it can have a
There is a
detoxifying or
possibility that it can happen as well.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
yeah. Thanks for clarifying that because, for all you people who are trying it at home, do know that there could be a possibility that, and if it is a requirement of your body, that the detox might happen. Of course, if it goes severe, please consult a doctor. But the ones which have been told by Ben over here, these seem to be safe points because, even in our daily life, at times, unknowingly, we put pressure on these points when we pressurize our palms or, when we break, what is that thing called when you're doing that knuckle breaking
Right.
stuff. So we anyways do it, right? It's now just do it more mindfully to know that we are doing it for fear, insecurity, stress, and calming our brain. So Ben, thank you so much for
Yeah.
one agreeing to this and for your time. I know it is relatively early morning over there. There is a
Hmm.
difference of 12 and a half hours between India and where you are in the US. So thank
Yeah.
you so much for taking this time out from your very busy schedule, and giving out your wisdom just like that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to connect internationally. What a fun moment
Yes,
to connect. Thank you.
exactly. And the internet and this period has really helped us. And I think what we covered today was very relevant for this period as well.
Great. I'm glad we picked some good points today. That's great.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ben.
Thank
Let's
you.
stay
Yeah.
connected.
Have a
Namaskar.
good one. Namaste.
Thanks.
Bye bye.